Story 1. You know, I kept hearing about all these hunting accidents this year, and it got me thinking about something that happened to me a while back. It's the kind of thing that makes you question what you're doing out there in the woods. Honestly, it's the reason I don't hunt anymore. Not even once since that day. So back then, me and my buddy Lee were really into deer hunting. We'd go out almost every season like clockwork. We had this favorite spot deep in the woods about an hour's drive from town. It was perfect. Lots of deer, quiet and far enough out that we didn't run into many other hunters. This one morning we loaded up the truck, grabbed our rifles, and headed out before sunrise. The air was crisp, and the woods had that stillness about them, like everything's waiting. We got to our spot and decided to split up, like we usually did. Lee went one way and I went the other. That way, we could cover more ground and maybe flush something out for the other guy. I headed into this dense part of the woods where the trees are so close together you can barely see a few yards ahead. I was moving slow, trying to keep quiet, scanning the ground and the trees for any signs of movement. After a while, I spotted something. Someone, actually. It was this woman. She was standing maybe 50 yards off, wearing this long purple dress. Not hunting gear, not a jacket or anything you'd expect out here. Just a purple dress, like she was headed to a church service or something. And she was staring right at me, not moving, not saying a word, just standing there with this blank look on her face. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you. I froze. I'm talking goosebumps from head to toe. It wasn't just that she didn't belong there, it was something about her, the way she was staring. It felt wrong, like every instinct in my body was screaming at me to get out of there. So instead of calling out to her or walking over to see if she needed help, I did the opposite. I turned around and walked the other way. Fast. I kept glancing back over my shoulder, half expecting her to be following me, but she wasn't. After a while, I started to think maybe I'd imagined it. You know how your eyes can play tricks on you out there, especially in the early light when the shadows are doing weird things. I told myself it was nothing, just my mind messing with me, and kept going. But then, God, I still get chills thinking about it. I saw her again. Same purple dress, same blank stare, same distance away, just standing there, watching me. I swear my heart felt like it was going to jump out of my chest. This time I didn't even try to rationalize it. I just turned and walked the other way again, faster this time. I don't know how far I walked, but eventually I couldn't see her anymore. I stopped to catch my breath and tried to calm down. I told myself, "You're being ridiculous. It's just a lady out for a walk. Maybe she's lost or something." But deep down, I didn't believe that, not for a second. So I kept moving, keeping my eyes on the trees and trying not to think about her. Then, out of nowhere, I spotted this massive buck. I mean, this thing was a trophy deer if I've ever seen one. Big antlers, perfect size, exactly the kind of thing every hunter dreams about. My fear vanished just like that. All I could think about was how Lee would lose his mind when I brought this guy back. I raised my rifle, steadied my aim, and just as I was about to pull the trigger, I saw her again. She was off to my right this time, standing there like she'd been there the whole time. But now she was shaking her head, slow and deliberate, like she was telling me no. I froze. I didn't know what to do. I looked back at the buck, but it was gone, just disappeared, like it was never there. And in its place, stepping out from behind some trees, was Lee. My heart stopped, I mean really stopped. He was standing exactly where I'd been aiming. If I'd pulled that trigger a second earlier, I don't even want to think about it. I lowered my gun, my hands shaking so bad I thought I'd drop it. I looked back to where the woman had been, but she was gone. Just like that. Lee came over, grinning, and he stopped when he saw my face. "What's wrong with you?" he asked. I tried to tell him, but the words weren't coming out right. I told him about the woman in the purple dress, how she kept showing up, how she'd been shaking her head when I aimed at the buck, how the buck wasn't even a buck, but him. He just stood there, looking at me like I'd lost my mind. Then he said, "Let's get out of here, this doesn't feel right." We packed up and left without another word. The whole drive back, I kept thinking about that woman. Who was she? Why was she there? Was she some kind of ghost? A guardian angel? I don't know. And honestly, I don't want to know. All I know is that she saved me from making the worst mistake of my life. I haven't been hunting since. Every time I think about going back out there, I see her face, and I hear her warning in my head. I don't know if she'll ever show up again, but I'm not about to find out. That day was enough for me. So yeah, that's my story. I just figured I'd share it, you know? Maybe someone out there has seen her too, or maybe it's just me. Either way, I owe her my buddy's life, and that's something I'll never forget. Story 2. I always loved hunting, you know, being out there in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by nature, with nothing but the sounds of the woods to keep you company. It's calming. At least it used to be. But ever since that one trip, I can't bring myself to go out there anymore. It was a crisp morning in late fall, and I had my rifle slung over my shoulder as I made my way to my usual hunting spot. The forest was quiet, the kind of quiet that makes you feel like the only person left in the world. I remember whistling a little tune to myself, something cheerful to break up the quiet. Just some random melody I made up on the spot. I wasn't paying much attention to where I was stepping, just following the trail I knew like the back of my hand. After a while, I paused to catch my breath, and that's when I heard it. The same tune I'd been whistling, but coming from somewhere off in the distance. At first, I thought maybe my ears were playing tricks on me, but no, it was clear as day. Someone, somewhere out there, was whistling my tune back to me. It gave me goosebumps. I stopped in my tracks and listened, holding my breath. When the whistling stopped, I told myself it was probably just another hunter. Maybe they heard me and decided to mess around. Still, I couldn't get rid of the feeling that something was off. I don't know why, but my stomach felt tight, like I'd eaten something bad. I took a deep breath, adjusted my rifle, and kept walking toward my spot. When I finally got there, the tree I always used was standing tall like it always did. It's this big old oak with a sturdy branch just the right height to sit on while I wait for deer. I climbed up, settled into my usual perch, and got ready for a long wait. Time passed slowly, like it always does when you're out hunting. I don't know how long I'd been sitting there when I heard it again, the whistling, the same tune. This time it was closer, a lot closer. I scanned the area below, squinting to see through the trees and underbrush, but there was nothing, just empty woods. I gripped my rifle tighter and tried to tell myself it was nothing. Maybe the wind was playing tricks or some bird was mimicking me. Yeah, birds can do that, right? But then I heard it again, louder this time, clearer. The sound sent a chill up my body. It was like whoever or whatever was whistling wanted me to know they were there. And it wasn't just a random tune, it was the exact same one I'd been whistling earlier. I leaned forward, peering into the shadows beneath the trees. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might scare off any deer nearby. Not that I cared much about hunting anymore at that point. Minutes passed, maybe hours, I don't even know. Time felt weird, like it was stretching out longer than it should. And then, just when I started to think maybe I'd imagined it all, I heard the whistle again. But this time, it wasn't coming from the ground. It was coming from above me. My heart dropped. My hands went cold. Slowly, as if moving too fast might make things worse, I tilted my head back and looked up. At first, I didn't see anything. Just the thick branches of the trees stretching out against the sky. But then my eyes caught something. A shadow, darker than the rest, sitting on a branch directly above me. I froze. It wasn't a bird, or an animal. It was a shape, vaguely human but not quite right. Too thin, too long, its arms and legs stretched out unnaturally, gripping the branch like a spider, and its face, oh God, its face. It didn't have one, not really. Just a smooth, pale surface with no eyes and no nose. Only the mouth was there, but somehow, I knew it was looking at me. And then it whistled. The same tune. I wanted to scream, but my voice was caught in my throat. All I could do was stare, my whole body frozen like I was trapped in a nightmare. The thing started to move, shifting its weight on the branch, and the way it moved. It was wrong, jerky and unnatural. I don't know what snapped me out of it, but suddenly I was scrambling to get down from the tree. I didn't care how loud I was or if I scared off every deer in the county. I just needed to get out of there. As I climbed down, I felt something brush against my shoulder, a cold, light touch, like the wind, but heavier. I didn't look back. I didn't want to know if it was following me. I hit the ground running, my rifle bouncing against my back as I tore through the woods. Branches slapped against my face and arms, but I didn't care. All I could think about was putting as much distance as possible between me and that thing. The whistling followed me, faint at first, then louder, like it was chasing me. I swear I could feel its breath on the back of my neck, even though I didn't dare look back. When I finally broke out of the woods and into the clearing near my truck, I didn't stop. I jumped into the driver's seat, locked the doors, and peeled out of there like my life depended on it. Even as I sped down the dirt road, I could still hear the whistling, faint and distant, like it was calling me back. I never went back to that spot. Hell, I haven't gone hunting since. I don't know what I saw or heard that day, and honestly, I don't want to know. That's it for now. I hope you enjoyed these stories. If you did, check out more of my videos on the screens above or visit my channel for even more. Don't forget to subscribe for future updates. Stay safe and take care.